Krypton's exploding. He's like running.
He's running is so funny.
Yeah, guys, am I rich? Like a 2000
Jail.
high school.
Straight to jail, John.
So, guys, this means that Thanos is coming back in Daredevil.
It was fantastic.
Fantastic.
The podcast where we talk about what we truly want.
What's up, guys? Welcome back. Can you guys hear me?
We got you.
Welcome to the Webinar Seminar podcast, where we talk about what we truly want tonight. We talk about our dreams, the things we want fulfilled in our lives, the movies that we love, the things we want to see on the big screen and the little screen, the things we want to see in our books, comics, TV shows, whatever it is. But tonight, I've got some boys with me. I've got Dave, the VHS aficionado, our producer himself. He's here, and he's giving us his VHS takes. Dave, how's it going?
Going well. You know, I'm always bidding on those VHS, so.
Currently bidding,
actually.
Yes. Yep. And we've got Jacob, the cinematic master of all time. He's here, and he's sad about something. The Last of Us.
Yeah, we'll talk about that next week. But I just got outbid on a lot of VHS tapes by someone named W. Webb. So
Whoops.
we're gonna have a bidding war going on eBay here.
Well, guys, tonight we've got a lot to break down and cover. There's been a lot of movie news. We're going to be talking about Superman, the behind-the-scenes trailer, Predator Badlands, the new trailer. We're talking about Star Wars Celebration Japan. We're going to recap all of that for you guys. And then Andor Season 2, Episodes 1 through 3. Basically, I think it's called the Chapter 1 or BBY 4, sorry. So we're going to be breaking down that for you guys. But first off, Wade, you're going to be telling us a little story. Is that right?
That's right. Yeah. So, guys, yard sale season is upon us. I'm excited. That's where I get a lot of my good inventory and collection pieces because people usually try to get rid of the VHS, you know. But I just wanted to give my quick story from last year, my best sale of 2024 my best find from a yard sale in 2024. So picture this, you know, Mary and I are driving around and I'm not feeling the yard sale itch that morning for some reason. And we drive by one right near our street and we roll past it and it looks kind of like this.
Ugh.
And I was like, Mary, I don't want to stop there. But, you know, we decided to do it anyway. And I go up there and you see this like basket. Imagine it's like one of those, you know, gray totes that you see everywhere. I mean, I'm not kidding. It looked like this, like garbage, things no one wants, antiques. And then there's that bin. And I look through the bin and the lady yells to me, everything in that bin's $1. And I'm like, okay. So I go and I'm like ruffling around in the bin, like a crappy DVD player, bunch of stuff. And I'm like, is that a PS4? And so I yank it out and I'm like, that is a PS4. And I was like, how much is this? Just to make sure. And she's like, $1.
Oh my God.
Don't mind if I do.
That's ridiculous.
Dude, just to give you I sold my PS4 for $150.
Yeah.
And then all my games separately. You sold it for that much?
Ridiculous.
Yeah, I sold it for about $130, I think, because it was
that
an
is
older
insane, though, dude.
Yeah, and it had a free game, and I think it was like Little Big Planet 3 or something. And then they came out with the controllers and was like, "Would you do $1 each for these controllers?" And I was like, "Yes, I would." So, yeah,
dude, that's a steal. That lady did not know what she had.
So I'm looking forward to this year. We'll see what we find. You know.
I've never found anything like that good before. I did find an original copy of Ben-Hur, like a first edition, and it was kind of expensive, so that was kind of cool, but I've never found anything like that. That's pretty sweet.
Yeah, definitely a lucky find, and I was reluctant to go, but, you know, sometimes that just means all the more reason to go and search the ones that don't look good, because you never know what's buried. So
nice, dude. That's sweet. Well, we did get a new Superman behind the scenes trailer type. I don't even know if it's a trailer, but it's a behind the scenes look at the movie. So our first image here, you got Superman in the suit, you got Lex Luthor, just kind of breaking down their character. I think in this scene, you got David Cornsweet talking about how it's liberating to have the trunks on the outside of the suit. How do you guys feel about this kind of look right here? Are you guys like, hype,
Classic.
excited?
Looks like Superman. Yeah.
Yeah. He does look really
Love
big.
the bald Lex Luthor too.
And it's kind of funny. You wouldn't be able to tell, but these guys are actually extremely tall in real life, apparently. Like, really tall.
Really?
So, and that's kind of cool, I think, that they're so tall as character. You know, Superman should be intimidating for sure. Wait,
Yeah,
there should
that's
be some
funny
more
'cause-
images. Yeah.
That's funny because I was talking to Johnny J from from previous episodes today at work, and he was like, "It's like, did you know Robert Downey Jr. is 5'8"?" And I'm like, "He's shorter than." That's so weird
He's
to think about.
short. Yeah. These guys are like 6'7", like tall guys,
Oh,
apparently.
wow,
Yeah,
that's crazy.
6'5", or
Wow.
I can't remember exactly how tall, but
So they're giants.
yes. And I think oh, yes, Metamorpho. It's kind of a blurry image, but if you look online, there's some better images. He's played by Anthony Carrigan, is that right, Jake? From Barry?
Yeah, that's right. From Barry. Fan
That's
favorite
pretty
character.
cool.
It's
Yes.
NoHo Hank.
Ooh, I'm excited for this character. I love him from the TV shows, comics, and stuff. He's kind of like have you guys know Metamorpho at all?
No, for me and some of our listeners, go ahead and give them.
Yeah, so
who
he's
is
a
he?
guy who he worked for this company, this like chemical company, and he's like engaged to marry the daughter of the CEO. But the CEO kind of does not like him and kind of accidentally, makes him fall into a vat of, or kind of does some testing on him or some sort of like chemical disaster, turns him into this freakish monster looking guy who's half purple, half orange and white. But then he's like, he can use his powers. He can turn into any type of, chemical. He can turn into any type of substance, basically. So kind of a cool character, Wade, for you, a science guy. He can do anything. He can like become magnesium. He can become whatever,
That's cool.
He can
Yeah. No, that sounds
So-
exciting and interesting to.
Yeah,
watch.
so I'm excited to see his character, and I like the casting as well. Jake, how you feeling about this character? Any thoughts, or have you heard of him before?
Yeah, interesting. It doesn't really seem like it fits much into the movie. But
I don't know.
I guess we really don't know much about the movie, so
We got a comment, Wade.
Yeah, we did. Metamorpho is in one of the first episodes of the Superman animated show.
Yes,
Banger
episode. That is true, Sam. I love that episode. Kind of his origin story, I think. But I don't know. It looks like Lex Luthor is kind of capturing metahumans, possibly. So I don't know if that is some sort of deal, or he's part of the Terrifics, as we've seen with Guy Gardner. So yeah, very interesting. And also, really, this thing kind of like hones in on James Gunn's vision. What he is looking to put into this movie, kind of more so the heart of Superman. Like, being nice is cool, and in a world where it's not cool to be nice,
Yeah.
like to be a kind person. I actually really like that. People are getting annoyed, the Snyder Bros. But I'm a Snyder Bro, and I actually like this outlook on Superman. You know what I mean? Like, I'm excited. Jake, how do you feel about that? That they're kind of honing in just specifically on James Gunn's vision for this movie.
I just heard Snyder Bros and shut my brain down. It's been 5 years since they got the Snyder cut. It's over. Let it go.
And I love those movies. But I'm
Yeah,
excited to
no,
see this
a lot of
version of
fun.
Superman.
Some people just
You
can't
know?
let it go.
Yeah, it's definitely time to get a more lighthearted Superman.
Yeah, and I hope he's comic accurate. I'm excited. I think James Gunn can pull this type of, nobody's been able to crack Superman 100%. I would say, Man of Steel was close, but there's not a lot of joy in that movie, and also Superman killing. So that's kind of interesting. So I don't know what's gonna kind of differentiate this movie. Hopefully, it's like that. You have that joy, you have that excitement. But also the humor might land, hopefully. Because James Gunn's humor sometimes lands, actually. with that.
I would
kind
say
of,
more than sometimes. I would say more than sometimes.
Yeah, with the Guardians movies and even Suicide Squad. So yeah, I'm excited for that. And I think there's one more picture, Wade, right?
Yeah.
And then a really good look at Hawk Girl. First look at a character design. Yeah, so really cool. I'm excited to see. They just confirmed this actually because toy leaks and stuff. Hawk, like this team of Guy Gardner, Hawk Girl, Mr. Terrific, Metamorpho is called the Justice Gang, which I think is so funny.
Wow.
It's like a crappy Justice League, basically. So that's kind of funny that it's kind of the starts of the Justice League, but not yet there, you know? The Justice Gang.
I do like the very pronounced and colorful outfit. Like, that makes it fun, I think.
Oh, yeah. Which there's some theories on that logo on all the characters, you know, that Maxwell Lord kind of owns them. You know, that the corporations own the superhero teams, apparently. So we're going to see that. Because Maxwell
Now, do we
Lord
know
is
who this
played by...
actress is?
This is Isabella Merced. She's actually in Last of Us Season 2.
Yeah,
She's
like
also
she's
an Alien Romulus as well. She's the one that's pregnant in Alien Romulus. Gives birth to the alien baby, the creator baby, right? Super gross.
Yeah.
Have you seen? Yeah, you guys seen that movie?
Yeah, it's ridiculous. That was an
Yeah.
awesome movie.
Yes.
Yeah, and a freaky ending for that character.
I'm sad
she
we
was
didn't
also
get to
Dora
break
the
that movie
Explorer.
down. Yeah, Dora the Explorer. I'm sad we didn't get to break down Alien Romulus on the channel.
Maybe we can do like a 1 year anniversary like revisit.
Yeah, we took a kind of a hiatus there for a few months and we missed some pretty good, cool movies. But yeah, any final thoughts, guys, on this behind the scenes footage? I mean, really cool that they're honing in on James Gunn's vision. And this movie's coming out soon. I mean, what, 3 months? That's crazy to me. July, right?
Yeah, 3 months. Yeah.
Man, that's super hype. Wade, you hype?
I'm hype. That's the most hype movie of this year, I think. For
me,
probably not just
yeah.
me, but definitely me. So
Yeah. Sweet, guys. Let's get
Question.
into... Oh, yeah, Jake.
Can you hear my ceiling fan right now?
No, you're good.
no.
All right, next we have Predator Badlands trailer. This is kind of lighting up the internet because it's the same director as Prey, which I loved Prey. Super awesome. They kind of revitalized the Predator, and we're kind of in the Predator Renaissance, the Predescence. But this is kind of a futuristic take, more so, and a young Predator as the protagonist, as the good guy, sort of anti-hero, so to speak. And it's
Love
on
that
an
team.
alien planet as well. You can see Elle Fanning is in it, this is kind of crazy. Elle Fanning playing a Wayland Yutani cyborg, kind of like from the Alien franchise. So this is, I think this is kind of
Cool.
leading to Alien versus Predator again.
Oh man, dude, that'd
Did you
be
catch
wild.
that, Wade? Did you catch that? With
No,
her
I
eye-
didn't catch that.
When she closed her eyes, the Wayland Yutani logo was on her eye, and it's also on some of the buildings in the background. So
That's
something's up, dude.
wild.
Something is up.
You know, both Predator and Alien are having a really good resurgence of passionate creatives working really hard on projects. And it's kind of one of the best things to come out of the Disney Fox acquisition, where both series had kind of delved into different things. You know, Predator had a really odd movie that kind of seemed like it was going to be a long while back in 2018, and Alien was becoming, you know, philosophical musings for Ridley Scott. And so they both had kind of just fallen into odd territory where it was like, okay, another one of those movies. But now we've got these really passionate creatives behind the scenes for these series. You know, Romulus Fede Alvarez, who directed that, is a horror director, and you know, cites Alien as, you know, his greatest inspiration, and you know, he really delivered with Romulus, bringing it back to basics, so to speak. Noah Hawley, who's the creator and writer of Fargo and Legion. We don't know much about Alien Earth yet, but he's been talking about it for years, and I'm pretty plugged in with his stuff because anytime an interview of his comes out, I read it just for, you know, tidbits on Fargo because I love that show. And he is passionate about Alien and whatever story he's telling. So that's going to come out this summer. And we've got Dan Tratzberg over here with Predator, who directed Prey, and it's almost like he managed to finesse his way in way back, and he was like, "Hey, you're not doing anything with Predator right now. Let me not use the Predator name, but make a Predator movie. And you can put it on streaming if you want. Like, don't worry about it." And he made a hit. It crushed it on streaming.
So good.
Um,
It's kind of a mistake to not put it in theaters.
it really would have gotten great word of mouth in theaters. But maybe the reason it became such a hit and a sensation is because you could just turn it on Hulu. I mean, it was a Hulu original. How ridiculous is that? And people were just so happy with it. It was critically acclaimed. So now he's working on, this animated anthology movie that we talked about a couple weeks ago. And he's making this movie, which seems like it's diving all in on the Predator stuff. I'm no expert on Predator. I've seen them all, but I'm really no expert on. I'm sure there's Easter eggs galore in this trailer, but just the vibe I got was that it seems like a cool original style adventure. I was pretty hyped watching this, even though it was a minute of pretty much plotless sneak peeks.
There's a few theories on what's going on. I think one of them is that either he is kind of discarded by his people and he's trying to work his way back up through some sort of ritual, or this is some sort of the Badlands is a place for the Predators to become a man, basically, possibly. I don't know, something like that. Or there's some sort of disaster with Weyland Yutani, because why is there a android communicating with a Predator? I have no clue.
Yeah, that's interesting. I didn't catch that this is an android.
Well, look at it's this.
I see
Fede
it
Alvarez and Dan Trachtenberg are apparently friends, slightly possibly looking to direct a Alien versus Predator together at some point in the future.
That's just ridiculously cool.
I hope it happens.
Dude, we need redemption for Alien versus Predator.
Alien versus Predator is such an iconic idea. I mean, the comics go back to like the late 90s or the early 90s. And the first movie is actually a good bit of fun.
It is. And so good.
And it's just been kind of waved off as a bit of a joke now, part of the downtread of both franchises. So having the franchises have some well-received critically and audience-wise movies, and then those passionate creatives working together on a potential Alien versus Predator is a really exciting prospect.
It'd be so cool, dude.
Dang, that gets me excited.
Alien versus Predator would be good. I mean, what the heck,
But okay, so also Fede Alvarez did say something. He said the best Alien versus Predator movie would be a movie where it's not in the title. It's just say it's a Predator movie or it's an Alien movie, but you get the characters show up. And then you're like super surprised. You know what I'm saying? Like,
so that makes me think Badlands is gonna
say a xenomorph shows up in Badlands, we would flip out. We would freak out. You know what I mean? But it's not in the title. That'd be kind of I think people in the theaters would freak out.
Yeah,
I don't know. We got a comment.
Sam says, excited for this movie, and they also recently announced a new Predator versus the Marvel Universe comic run.
I could see that. Yeah, I did see that.
Behind the scenes synergy, like, hey, start planting the seeds of Predator versus, so.
Some people are also because Stitch comes out this year too, or Lilo and Stitch. Everybody was like Predator versus Stitch, please.
Predator wouldn't stand a chance.
Yeah, Stitch would get him.
Stitch is ridiculous. Yeah,
Stitch would win. Speaking of Disney, Wade, let's get into Star Wars Celebration Japan. Was last week. We kind of missed it right as our episode was airing last week. Star Wars Celebration was happening, right? I think Jacob was like, "Shoot, we just missed all these announcements."
Guys, after the podcast, we stay on and we talk a little bit about plans. And I looked at my phone and all these announcements for these movies. I was like, "Guys, we literally live stream.
Live streaming, not talking about it."
Sometimes that happens, that's happened a few times where we're like, shoot, there's so much stuff that just happened, like news-wise.
Thursday is just a popular day to release your announcement. Yes. But Jacob, I'm glad you're in your Star Wars room for
this is my
this segment
welcome
here.
To my Star Wars room. One day you'll get an official room tour, but
nice.
Yes, you can see I actually have a Star Wars room. It's quite
sick.
Small. It's
so
practically
cool.
a walk-in closet, as you can see. That's what it is
so cool.
used for, but I converted it and
before
nice space, man.
Yeah, dude, that's awesome, man. Before we get into some of these reveals, guys, I don't know if you guys got to watch any of Star Wars Celebration, but I just props to them for how cool of an event this is. Like when they intro a character, they have like these crazy screens, kind of showing the best clips, but also with like crazy awesome cinematic score. Like when Hayden Christensen came out, I sent it to Wade. I was like, dude, this is that made me like cry almost. Like the amount of respect they have for the actors, the characters they played is pretty cool. So just props to them for that. I just thought it was really awesome. But yeah, let's get into these reveals, Wade. First one, we've got The Mandalorian and Grogu. These are the two movies. Mandalorian Grogu coming out next year, 2026, and then Star Wars Starfighter coming out 2027. Before we get into Starfighter, let's talk about The Mandalorian and Grogu. There is a leaked trailer out there. You guys can go find it. We're not going to show any images from it. We don't want to get demonetized. But we could kind of talk a little bit about what happened. You got Mando on an AT-AT taking out snowtroopers. You've got what's her name? Sigourney Weaver's character as kind of the head rebel pilot for the new the new order. Wait, what's it called? What's it called now? The New Order. Yeah.
First Order?
First Order?
No, not the First
Resistance?
Order. The New Republic. Sorry. The New Republic is what it is now. You've got tons of droids. You've got Zeb from Rebels. That's pretty cool. I hope there's some cool action pieces. You've got Grogu with his mischief, of course, using the Force a little bit. And also you got Rada the Hutt, played by Jeremy Allen White, as some sort of gladiator character, like a ripped Jabba, basically, with his arms up, That was kind of cool. I don't know what any of this movie is about, but I'm hyped for it because I think it's going to be kind of like the first two seasons. Like the quality-wise, hopefully, is really there because they can kind of put a lot more money in because it's a feature film, and I think it's going to be successful, honestly. But yeah, guys, how you feeling about this movie? Wade, let's start with you.
Yeah, I'm excited. Laggy says he's stoked for new Star Wars, and so are we.
That's the essence, man.
Yeah,
Star
we're
Wars.
excited over here. But yeah, I Cam, when you sent me this trailer, it felt illegal watching it. I'm not gonna lie, because it was.
You guys have seen this?
It felt so illegal to watch.
Yeah, I watched it.
It was like some guy's phone recording. He's definitely not supposed to.
Dude, but it was so good, wasn't it?
So epic. It's gonna be fun.
It feels like a side quest, but I don't even care. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like they're supposed to be like tying up the storyline, right? So I don't know.
But what is it? Is it about Grogu's? Like, what are they gonna do with Grogu? I don't know. Maybe is it even about Grogu? Like, I don't know.
I'm not gonna lie. The movie feels pretty unnecessary, but I'm trusting that they're making it for a reason. And part of me wonders if it's a true Mandalorian finale, or
Maybe.
if it's a pretty big setup for an eventual Endgame style movie that would bring together Boba Fett, Ahsoka, and Skeleton Crew, all the things that take place in this time.
Right. That makes sense.
I hope it's not. It's got to be different. The fact that it's not a season 4, it would have been so easy and so consistent just to say, "Hey, we're working on the Mandalorian season 4," and have this be the story. So I'm hoping that besides the little snippets we've seen, that there's there's something. It's kind of like we talk about Pixar movies before they come out. I always tend to say the trailers are underwhelming. Then you watch the movie and you see the secret sauce, the thing that makes it Pixar, the thing that twists your heart. I think there's a secret sauce in here somewhere that we don't really have an inkling of yet.
Yeah, like who's the bad guy?
Yeah, something's not right. Something's not complete yet that we don't know. So hard to really tell, but currently it feels unnecessary. I'm hoping it feels either like a strong finale or a perfect setup.
We got a comment?
Yeah, Sam says Mando and Grogu movie just looks like one long side quest filler episode.
I hope so, but I think Jon Favreau is cooking. I don't know what he's doing because it's Jon Favreau. I mean, he directed Iron Man 1 and 2. He directed Elf. Mm-hmm. So there's something to this movie that we don't know about. Is it a crazy bounty hunter movie? Some sort of bounty. Is there some sort of Jedi thing going on with maybe Luke shows up again? I have no clue.
Yeah,
they've really
remains to be seen. Really,
There's some CGI artist who hasn't seen his family in 4 weeks because he's deep faking Luke's face right now.
Dude, he looked so good in Boba Fett, honestly, though.
Yeah,
Luke looked
they did
it
good work.
looked real. It looked so real.
I love the idea that they had him come back in season 2 of The Mandalorian, and somebody who does their own editing said, "Let me try to deep fake Luke better," and he posted it online. And instead of being like taken down or blocked, Lucasfilm hired him
So
to work
good.
with the team on the Book of Boba Fett, and it was pretty impressive work. So
Yeah. It looked so good, honestly. Any thoughts? Are we good? We can move on to
yeah.
Starfighter.
Let's go to Starfire. Fighter.
So, Starfighter, this movie is coming out 2027. You got Sean Levy, the director of tons of stuff, honestly, like childhood, a lot of our cinematic stuff, Night at the Museum, Stranger Things, Real Steel, Deadpool and Wolverine. This guy is a pro. He's a pro.
yeah,
really,
Sean Levy's list is ridiculous.
Yeah.
No, and that makes sense to have a Star Wars movie. Like,
For
to me,
sure.
like he kind of is a classic adventure type,
Yes.
smartly written.
Free Guy, Real
Free
Steel.
Guy,
I mean,
yep.
these movies that he's made since we were kids are always awesome. Do you guys even
sure.
remember Cheaper by the Dozen?
Oh
I
yeah,
love
really?
That was some
so
of his-
good.
I mean, think of this career trajectory from Cheaper by the Dozen, all the Night at the Museums, Real Steel, and recently he's had a little more action. He's very involved in Stranger Things. He's one of the executive producers and one of the main directors with the Duffer Brothers. And Free Guy was awesome, and Deadpool and Wolverine was just great. This guy's hit list is ridiculous. And him doing Star Wars is perfect.
And he kind of captures that childhood nostalgia for somehow he's really good at that.
Lots of fun, but it's also pretty serious at the same time.
Yeah. But we got Ryan Gosling as the main actor in this movie, which is crazy. I'm assuming he's going to be the Starfighter of the movie. I don't know. We have no clue. Or he's a Jedi, maybe? I don't know. Who knows what this is going to be? But I think it's apparently 5 years after the Battle of Exegol that we see in The Rise of Skywalker, which was kind of crazy. Sean Levy dropping Exegol. I was not expecting that, because they really don't try to talk about the sequels recently for some reason. But very interesting. Guys, Wade, what do you think this movie is? Do you think this is something? What is it, Wade?
Dude, I'm not good at guessing this kind of stuff. I mean, maybe he's a replicant or something,
I don't know. I honestly I don't like the name that much. It feels kind of redundant, like Star Wars.
It is kind of like Starfighter.
Yeah. I think this is the Rogue Squadron movie that Patty Jenkins was directing. Maybe they reworked it. I'm assuming. I don't know.
It wouldn't surprise me if they had a lot of previs and maybe even a couple like interiors built and costumes designed, and they thought, hey, Sean, you're working on a movie. You use these elements.
Exactly. Maybe that's it. It kind of like Top Gun of the Star Wars universe. So I could really see them doing a really cool movie. I'm kind of sad because I do want more Jedi stuff. I miss the Jedi lore and all that kind of stuff. But if they can really pull this off, I wonder what the threat is. After the Battle of Exegol, when you have somehow the Emperor returned, how you can top that. I don't know, but maybe it's some sort of one-off movie. I don't know.
Somehow Thrawn returned. Speaking of Thrawn,
Ahsoka season 2 confirmed, coming out next year, I believe. They've recast Baylan Skoll with an actor from I believe it's from Game of Thrones. Is that right, Jake?
Yeah, he played the Hound on all 8 seasons.
Yes. And also Hayden Christensen confirmed to return, which we kind of already theorized about that because of the father, the daughter, the son.
We did.
Like, what's going on?
I listened back to that episode, and Jacob, I think your take was that it was a good ending for him. So it's interesting that now they're bringing him back.
What's going on? I don't know. Jake, how do you feel?
Yeah, I didn't expect it, but I really don't hate it. I thought that might be the last time we see Hayden Christensen as Anakin or in Star Wars, and I was really okay with it. But if he's going to be kind of a Force Ghost mentor or someone to for Ahsoka to consult with, I think that there'd actually be a lot of powerful scenes.
Wait, didn't you have a theory that he was going to take the father's place?
He needs to take the father's place because in that Clone Wars episode where they have the father and the daughter and the son, obviously the daughter represents the light side and the son the dark side. He is like the father says to Anakin, "You need to take my place and keep my children in check to keep balance with the Force," and he says no. And so I wonder if obviously I think the father dies in that episode or something like that. Yeah.
So the Force is out of whack.
The Force was out of whack, and I think only the son survived. So it's like maybe that's why Anakin turned to the dark side. It's just an interesting
did you catch that the daughter's statue was destroyed, right?
Right.
In the Ahsoka show. So
and also you see the owl, which is the representation of the daughter.
Mm-hmm.
Near Ahsoka. So
what? Dave Filoni's he's cooking.
I'm just saying, there's some good theories there.
It's funny because this kind of stuff is really, really niche. I have a coworker who loves Star Wars, but he's only seen the 9 movies. I don't think he's even seen Solo or Rogue One. And I could say things like, "Have you seen it? I'm watching Andor season 2 tonight. What's that?" Well, it's just a different, there's rabbit holes.
Yeah,
for sure.
And I don't blame anybody for just casually watching something, even if they love it, and not going all the way down the rabbit hole. But this is the bottom of the rabbit hole. I mean, we're talking sequel to an animated episode 15 years ago, and it's cool that they can make it for people like us who are really into it. That's a really cool theory, Wade. And the imagery that was in season 1 of those characters, the father and the daughter and the son, was really, really strong and really apparent. So it seems like maybe it's just an homage to make you, remember that that's part of the world, or maybe it's really setting up what season 2 is about. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. At the end of Rebels, when they go to the world between worlds, the mural is of the same people, father, daughter, son. So
crazy.
I don't know. Ahsoka's pretty heavily in that.
I have a nut once we get into Andor, but my thing with all of these shows is why is the quality not as good as Andor, like visually wise? You know what I'm saying? Like I think Ahsoka was pretty close. With the not the story, but really like they're close on the visuals, but Andor looks like a Star Wars movie, and they've got to up the ante, take their time more so maybe on the visuals with this stuff, because Mando season 3 was kind of rough, honestly. Why is Andor's budget so good? I don't know.
Probably.
Well, I'm not sure it's the budget just as much as the people working on it.
True.
Different ideas, different philosophies. I mean, the philosophy of a production isn't just in the writing and the directing. It goes all the way down to who's masking the VFX in a certain scene.
Yeah.
And those people have bosses who report to the director. So it all trickles down. It's all style. Everything looks different. Nothing, looks the same.
Yeah.
It just so happens that Andor's production team, the people working on it, whether it's because they have more prep time,
they worked on Rogue One.
Yeah, I believe it's because they have a bit of a clearer vision. And kind of, we'll talk about this more, but kind of the DNA of Andor is supposed to be a little real. So they have a little less fantastical elements in their background and make it feel a little more grounded.
But that is Star Wars, like using the real things, but adding the fantastical to it. You know what I mean? Like Andor's using a real wheat field is what it seems like. You know what I mean? But you watch The Acolyte and it's like definitely a soundstage.
It's the volume, yeah.
it's the volume.
It's different. You've probably got Tony Gilroy running Andor and saying, we are going to go scout locations. And no offense, I love the guy. You've got Dave Filoni shooting Ahsoka and he's like, this planet in a new galaxy is going to be filmed in my garage. It's just, it's just the philosophies of the productions are different. When I like what's happening on screen so much, I don't really care. But you're right; it does show. I thought the very first shots of Andor season 2, we'll get to it, of the TIE prototype in the hangar were so crisp and so so realistic that it hit me like a freight train of like, wow, I'm really watching something cool.
Yeah, if
But
you're
even
watching our
anyways,
Star Wars
yeah.
breakdown here, go check out the Andor breakdown. That'll be a separate video.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
Ahsoka is sorry. I just wanted to say one more thing about.
Oh,
Ahsoka.
okay.
No, you got it, Jake.
I
You got it.
loved Ahsoka. Actually, brought me to tears at one point when they took off with the Purgils to the other galaxy. Just how adventurous and how much payoff I felt. I mean, it really moved me. But because I'm a guy who has a room like this, you know what I mean. I don't think that would even interest some other people.
Right.
And I was actually a little disappointed with the look of Peridea once they got there. I thought it was a little bland.
Yeah.
Since then, I've kind of thought of, again, the philosophy of it of being like, okay, well, it's supposed to be this ancient land, and it's kind of got this abandoned tundra feel. I'm really not complaining too much. But that was something that did stick out to me. Was it didn't?
I mean, you
feel,
waited years for it because
Yeah,
of the Rebels finale. You know,
it didn't feel as striking and captivating as it could have been. And honestly, I like the show. I like Dave Filoni. I'm really not trying to complain. It felt a little lazy. Just it's a barren wasteland. That's why there's nothing there. That's not what I thought the next galaxy would look like. But that's just part of it. One more thing about Andor, talking about Rory McCann's recasting. I know nothing about Ray Stevenson as a person. Never met him. But his portrayal of Balin Skull just it captivated me. The way he was sad and melancholy about the way the world worked. He had his little monologue about empires, rebellions again and again and again. And his acting was just it was sad. It was
it's one of his best characters
for sure. And it's one of Star Wars' best characters.
Yeah.
I mean, it was really shocking that a side villain of a Disney Plus show is so interesting. And I was just so bummed when he died, man. Like I said, I don't know the guy personally, but his work impressed me so much in that show, and even meant a bit that I was really devastated. But Rory McCann, from what I know, is a cool individual. And he's an awesome actor. He crushed it in Game of Thrones. He was stoic and he was hard, and he was really mean, but he kind of had a heart of gold, and a really great story arc. And I think he's going to be able to pick up this torch really well. But man,
Nice.
it's even sad seeing him in the picture, Ray Stevenson.
Man,
so rest in peace. But because he created.
Why was he more interesting than Ahsoka? That's kind of sad.
Well, I think a lot of it, Ray Stevenson, I think, poured a lot into the character. I think he could have had that line, empires fall, rebellions. It's been a year or so since I watched it. They rise, they fall, they rise, they fall. I don't know. Anybody could have said that line and just been like, said it, but he added a lot to every aspect of that character.
He really did. It's a good character.
Just for context, everyone, here's what the guy looks like.
Okay.
You ever seen Hot Fuzz? He's the guy that walks around going, narp, narp.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
I think
hilarious.
if they whiten up his beard, you wouldn't be able to tell.
No, you probably, maybe his voice, but
yeah, we will see.
He looks pretty close.
Is he British by chance?
I'm pretty,
yeah.
Okay, so that is going to help because Ray Stevenson wasn't even British. He's obviously American, I think, right? Or is he British? I don't know.
He's American. No, for sure.
But yeah, we will see. That's exciting, Jake, and that's cool. You have that outlook. We've got The Ninth Jedi, which is an anime short series made by Star Wars Visions. They made the few seasons of Star Wars Visions. I don't know if you guys caught those episodes back in the day. There's some good ones. There's some really weird ones. There's some really good ones that could be movies, I think, personally. There's some really cool anime shorts.
I think that's classic anime is like some really crazy, amazing good and some of the weirdest stuff you've ever seen.
Like Rabbit Girl. But this, I don't know. This could be fun if it's about a specific Jedi, hopefully. I don't know what it's about. I didn't read the synopsis on this, but you guys hyped for this at all? Or
I have not watched any of Star Wars Visions, which is ridiculous.
I'll send you there's some really good ones. There's some really weird ones. So, yeah.
Yeah, I'm a fake fan.
Okay.
Nice. Sweet. Maul, Shadow Lord. This is my most anticipated animated thing by far. This looks cool. I watched the leak trailer on this as well.
You always the leaked like images and trailers.
We've got Sam Witwer back.
Yes.
And this is apparently right after Clone Wars, the final season. So we're getting Maul doing his thing, possibly forming the Crimson Dawn. Possibly. Jake,
That'd be cool.
what are you doing?
An issue
Having a-
there. Don't worry
you're
about
good. So we're getting Maul forming the Crimson Dawn, possibly. But also, Sam Witwer, I watched a few interviews. He's talking about how, why does Maul allow the Emperor to keep doing what he's doing, or not out the Emperor? Because he knows all the details. You know,
Right.
he knows that the Emperor.
He basically told everyone too in
Yes.
Clone Wars many times.
Yes. And so very fascinating. He is going to be taking an apprentice, Darth Talon, apparently. But yes, Darth Talon, the
Really?
the Twi'lek
Yeah.
chick. Yeah, the
Wow,
red
that's
Twi'lek.
good. So they're taking some expanded universe stuff, huh?
They are, but they're changing it. You know how Dave Filoni does? He's like trying to grasp the old canon and bring it back in,
Yeah,
you know?
interesting.
I don't think it's going to be Darth Talon. It's probably just going to be Talon, I'm
Sure.
assuming,
Yeah.
you know?
And that's fine. Because
but-
obviously they make a big point about Maul. Besides the Phantom Menace, he's just Maul. You know, he's renounced the Darth. He's not
Yes.
Sith.
Yeah.
He hates his old master. And he really is just, you know, Maul. Which is cool. I'm glad they didn't name it Darth Maul Shadow Lord. Feels like a commitment to that part of the character.
Sure.
And it's really cool because in the grand scheme of things, we do have a lot of pieces missing of Maul's life. You know, we have him coming up pre Phantom Menace, both Legends and canon, pretty well covered. And obviously Phantom Menace time and his life during the Clone Wars, extremely detailed. Then it's spotty. We know he runs Crimson Dawn. And then it's spotty again. We know he disappears and turns up on Malachor, and then we have the last month or so of his life chronicled pretty well. So there's a lot of empty spots in here to really tell some cool stories, I think.
Cool.
I love Sam Witwer being involved. He
Yes.
loves this character. This character means everything to him. So does Star Wars in general.
Get over
And from what I understand, he's actually behind the scenes too as a part of the creative process. So
Yeah, good.
So
Definitely need to, because he's so smart Star Wars wise. Like there's so many times where I guess he like even corrected Dave Filoni, who's like the ultimate nerd. So,
and hear me out. I liked Bad Batch, but it's at the end of the day, I was like, why does this matter? You know, the end of Bad Batch was just like, okay.
I agree, Cam. It was a little anticlimactic.
Like Omega is just a bounty hunter now. You know, like okay.
I felt like they were setting up for more, for sure. Yeah.
But this is an actual character we care about. You know what I mean? Like, that's pretty exciting that Dave Filoni is going to be putting all of his efforts into this, animation-wise. Sam says, I hope that this show connects to Solo. That would be nice. I would like to tie up that loose end that we've never gotten. Like, what's going on with the Crimson Dawn and also, like, Kira, right? From Solo. Maybe they're gonna do that. Maybe a season like 3 would be when he's with Kira. Maybe that would be kind of cool. I don't know if they can tie it all together. That'd be sweet. I don't know.
Yeah, there's a lot of missing pieces around this time, so they'll hopefully be able to do it. I really appreciate the restraint that Lucasfilm Animation has to maybe only do one series at a time. It would be so easy for them to go to Disney and say, let us do, or vice versa, Disney to ask Lucasfilm Animation do 4 series at once. You know what I mean? Just this. You know, Marvel's got What If and Spider-Man and X-Men and they're doing a Wakanda one, and you know what I mean? Lucasfilm Animation seems like they want to do one show at a time. I think that's really cool.
They did Clone Wars, then they did Rebels, and then they went back to Clone Wars, and then they did Bad Batch, right?
And they had Resistance in there too. Yeah.
And the Resistance, yes.
Well, and then the Tales of series, but yeah, that's pretty short.
Which, I'm pretty hyped for Tales of the Underworld. But, this gets into the next picture, Wade, right? which this is crazy. 20 years of Star Wars animation. How do you guys feel about that? Did you guys watch? Did you guys see this panel? Pretty
I
cool
did.
that pretty awesome what they've accomplished, honestly. And apparently, if you watch like the trailer, they really like broke the barriers of animation. They really tried new things, and so it's pretty cool what they've accomplished in 20 years, honestly. And look at all these original characters, but also using some original Star Wars characters from the movies. Pretty cool, honestly.
It is cool that the animation, so many of us thought it was just kids stuff, kids show while growing up. But it's crazy how it expanded, it made the universe. I mean, it literally blew it up to even bigger than, what we thought as kids watching the original movies. So definitely props to them for 20 years of it.
If you watch like any like YouTuber, a lot of them kind of fell in love with Star Wars through Clone Wars, the show. You know what I mean? Like that was their entry point for Star Wars, which is insane to me. That like for us, Wade, it was obviously the originals, you know, and then the prequels, which we fell in love with as young guys, But for some people, it's Clone Wars, like the clones, and they know every single type of clone. They know, they know the characters, Waxer, Boyle, all the clone names. So yeah, this is pretty hype. Jake, how you feeling about this?
There's a mistake on this poster.
There's
two Jabba the Hutts.
What in the world?
Yeah, there's Jabba the Hutt. He's he's up to the right. He's under the Zillo Beast's arm.
Yep.
And then he's right at the front of the poster, right next to Ahsoka and Wrecker. He's right in between them, right below C-3PO.
Jabba the Hutt, Cam. It's
Ezra Bridger.
It's Ezra. Remember, he's like, this is Jabba the Hutt.
Oh yeah,
I'm Jabba the Hutt.
I need to rewatch Rebels. It's so good. Rebels is so underrated.
That's my favorite recurring joke. I'm Jabba the Hutt.
Yeah, that's good.
Deals on
good
deals
stuff.
On deals.
Props to Dave Filoni. I would like them to branch out, maybe, but it's all good. We've got Light and Magic season 2. This was released recently. I think I
plan to watch it. I watched the first season. Super good.
I watched the first 2 episodes. It's more so about the prequels, which is really fun for me to watch that.
I bet that is really interesting.
But the fun thing about the show is they go into kind of not like they don't really hone in on the people's lives, but they do get to like talk to the person who was like, yeah, during this time, like I was getting no sleep. I had insomnia. Like I was like going crazy because the work was so bad, like they kind of talk about the individuals who figured out how to do these types of things that were impossible. So that's what's really cool about Light and Magic. And obviously ILM is just a crazy company. Like George Lucas. Yeah. Jake,
I was just going to joke, imagine how hard this poster would go if you didn't know it was a documentary.
Or if you didn't know any of these characters.
Yeah, you didn't know any of these characters. You're like, what is this
like,
movie
what
about?
Is this?
This movie's crazy.
Dinosaurs, X-Wings, a Squid Man. But yeah, I mean, I really like watching the behind the scenes stuff on this kind of stuff. And it really kind of hones in on Jar Jar on the first episode, which is such an interesting thing. You wouldn't think like Jar Jar, but it took a lot to accomplish that. And I love how George Lucas is like so demanding. He's like, no, we're going to get this done. We're going to do it. Like, just keep making more. He's like, nope, wrong. We're going to do it again. Different type.
Dang. No, yeah, he was definitely very,
He's a visionary,
serious
honestly.
about his stuff.
Yeah. We got some comments, Wade. We should try to.
This is a question for us all.
Oh.
If Disney gave you complete control over a new Star Wars show, what would each of you pitch them?
Oh, interesting. Is it show or movie?
A new Star Wars show.
Oh, show. Okay. I want some sort of like I know this is like Old Republic, but like the twin story where there's an evil one and a good one, which they did with Acolyte. They definitely copied Old Republic, a little bit, but maybe an Old Republic show. But I would actually like a movie series on that. A full-on trilogy of Old Republic movies, but Maybe an Old Republic show would work. I don't know.
What I would
about you
want
guys?
would be Obi-Wan and Anakin as in between episode 1 and 2, like some early training stories.
Oh,
I think that'd be a fun show.
That's rarely
Like-
been mined too. I think there's
There's like
one
nothing
comic and maybe 2 books that even touch those 10 years.
yeah. What are they talking about? Like when he's like, "I fell into a dream and you saved me." It's like what?
Yeah, exactly.
What are they
I'm so
talking
curious about it. Fell in
Yeah.
that nest of gun dogs. You know, I'm like,
Yeah.
what's
What
that
in the
story? I
world?
want to know.
Yeah. Man, yeah. Jake, what about you?
Guys, I actually have a plot, not even a full outline yet, but I'm an aspiring writer,
Yeah.
and I write a lot, and I have a idea for a book, actually, a Star Wars book that I would love to write and submit to Lucasfilm Publishing and get
Dang.
published.
Dang.
Probably not going to happen, but I want to write it anyways for my own sake.
Yeah.
It would be called Star Wars: The Tyrell Saga, and
Oh.
it would be the what we consider the Skywalker Saga, episodes 1 through 9, but from the perspective of the originally of him, and then the family of Rots Tyrell, the pod racer who gets blown up in episode 1. But you see in a deleted scene that it actually might be in the movie, but his wife and children are there at the pod race with him. And so I think the story would be told in 3 parts, maybe more, but it would be about his life and then his children's life during the Galactic Civil War, and then
Oh,
his
man.
grandchildren's life during the rise of the First Order. And all along the way, I'd love to connect it with, as a kind of idea, connect it with all the expanded stuff,
Oh,
and
yeah,
tie
yeah.
into events that aren't necessarily just from the original 9 movies, and kind of use this story of these pretty much original characters as a bridge of all of this stuff, episode 1 to episode 9, and all the random crap that I've read in between, kind of bridge it all.
Dude, that's
Dang.
hilarious.
Don't-
You should
don't steal
definitely
my
do that.
I'll steal my idea because I'm actually going to do that. I guess you could call it a fanfic, but nobody's going to kiss Luke
There's some
Skywalker.
good there's some funny fanfics out there, like R4 or whatever, that he's a Jedi.
Wow.
When he blew up in A New Hope, he knew that R2D2 needed to go with Luke.
Oh yeah, no, that's not even a fanfic. That's from
Is that actually real?
yeah, that's from a certain point of view, which is
yeah.
it's a series
yeah.
that tells the stories from the point of view of side characters. And he's not a
Yes.
Jedi, but it tells from his point of view when they're in that lineup being bought by Uncle Owen. And he starts getting taken away as he's been bought by Uncle Owen, and R2 starts freaking out. R2's saying to him in binary, he's like, "Hey, dude, I'm telling you," and he tells him like the whole story of why he's there. He's like, this guy is so important, and I have all this data in me. And R4 is like, you know what? I'm gonna sacrifice myself for the cause.
Wow, that's
And
hilarious.
He short circuits himself so R2 gets bought and can continue the story.
But
It's
then
pretty cool.
Pelimoto buys him, so he's fine.
Yeah,
Right?
he'll be
That's
fine.
true.
Yeah.
I love him coming back in that. That's great.
Yeah. Just real quick, Sam says if they made a show of early years of Anakin and Obi-Wan, every episode would have to include Anakin losing his lightsaber, since Obi-Wan makes such a big deal about it in episode 2.
True. That would be
So,
a main plot
yeah.
point.
That definitely would. All right, let's
Who
move
lose
on.
This? We've got Star Wars Zero Company. This is kind of a new video game, I believe. It looks like just a ragtag team. You got a Mandalorian, you got a clone, you've got a bounty hunter, you got a droid. Just a classic.
Typical Star Wars fashion, ragtag group of
Yeah,
randos.
get every type of a Jedi. I don't know if there's any story to this. It seems like a cheaper game. It's not like the Fallen Order or like, the Jedi Survivor. I don't think it's that quality, But I watched the trailer. Looks fun. I don't know. Any thoughts?
Yeah, we'll see.
We'll see. And then this one is kind of interesting. I read an article that Bryce Dallas Howard was being interviewed, and they asked her, "What's your dream project?" And she said, "I want to make a Mace Windu movie." Where is that guy? She said, and she apparently loves Samuel L. Jackson. I don't know how you guys would feel about this. Obviously,
I mean,
he's
there's
dead.
been so many rumors for so long. He's dead, right? I mean, you don't survive the fall out of the window after getting chopped out your hands off.
He fell on.
That's my person. I know he's a Jedi. He can land from fall heights. That's what Samuel L. Jackson said himself. I mean,
yeah.
Where's he been then? What are you gonna do? You know what I mean? Like,
I think it would be a cool thing if like the red clones are after him, and like he's just running for his life the entire movie. That would be kind of cool, like John Wick 2, kind of, where John Wick's just running the entire movie. It's just like really high, intense thriller. And like maybe at the end he does actually die, but we just want to see this really awesome John Wick Mace Windu like movie where the clones are just after him. I don't know. It could be cool.
I actually don't hate that. I think that'd be kind of cool because
that'd be interesting.
There's no way to fit him in anymore. The time there's more and more stuff.
Yeah.
It'd be like, where the heck was he? He needed to help.
Yeah, because he's
but if he's spent
help.
the last week of his life maybe helping someone, a character in the movie, and then he
Should've
also
been Grogu.
dies a week.
If it was Grogu, that would be
be
sick. But they didn't do that. They did Keller and Beck, which I actually liked Keller and Beck. I think that was cool. Which
was cool
the guy, which the Keller and Beck actor, Jar Jar Binks actor as well. He said he wants the same idea. Basically, he wants like a whole movie of that sequence, which I think would be kind of cool. But I don't know.
No, I don't think we need that.
Or like, where did he take Grogu? I don't know. How did Grogu get into that pram? Who knows? But Bryce Dallas Howard, all of her episodes are killer, honestly, on The Mandalorian. Like, those are some of the best episodes. Her dad is obviously, Ron Howard, which is like, he's a visionary. He made Solo when, obviously it wasn't very well received, but Solo was a pretty good movie, despite him not looking like Solo and all those issues. But, I don't know. I like the idea, but maybe she'll get a movie. Maybe it's not Mace Windu, but it's something, hopefully. I guess we'll see. Wait, we got one more comment on that.
Oh, whoops. The only way I'd want a Mace Windu movie is if it is at the end of the movie, Boba Fett kills him to avenge his father. It can take place in between episode 4 and 5.
That'd be kind of cool. I don't know.
The only thing is how he'd have to be around for too long to get to that point.
Yes, yeah, because Boba would be too young.
It's like, what was he doing?
Yeah.
I don't know, but fun to theorize, of course. But let's get into Andor season 2. We've got the first 3 episodes to break down. Wade, I know you are currently bidding on eBay.
Yeah. Sorry, you can keep seeing me look over. I'm trying to win this lot.
You're good. You're good.
Go ahead and give an intro here to Andor season 2.
A year has passed since Marva Andor was laid to rest. And she, obviously her last words were fight the Empire. So we are seeing that, we've got Andor, stealing an TIE Avenger. I think it's not an interceptor. It's an Avenger. I think that's the class. I'm not sure, but we get this 3-episode premiere titled BBY 4, which is the year, obviously, but also you get a title per episode as well. But yeah, guys, let's jump into this first episode. I think it's titled 1 Year Later, right?
Yeah.
So you get that really crisp shot that Jacob talked about where Andor's stealing the ship, but also one of the rebels is helping him, and she's like, I'm kind of risking my life here, but she's she's even kind of conflicted because she's like, hey, I've had fun here. I kind of like it here.
Yeah, that was cool. She could tell she was a new rebel. This was the first thing she had done.
Yeah.
Obviously, she probably had felt conflicted about the Empire, but also it seems like it was a pretty peaceful place, a testing facility, mechanics just checking things, pilots just flying ships. It doesn't seem like anything too dark was happening there. So yeah, she probably did have fun there. I mean, you saw she had some, camaraderie with her coworker. And I love that nuance,
For sure. Yeah. And he does not know how to drive it, which was kind of cool. The visuals were really awesome in this episode. So he ends up you get that snowtrooper with the rocket launcher. he kind of has to use like the photons to destroy the door so he can get out of there. But you know, he's like freaking out, and I think on the comms he's like, "I've been upside down for 2 days," like because he does not know how to drive it. He crash lands on a planet where with those rebels that don't really have a leader, so they're kind of just in chaos. And I like how there's like this weird like dynamic almost of like the rebellion is not fully formed. Some factions don't know what to do, you know, because like there's not a lot of communication possibly yet. You don't have Leia, you don't have all of these characters formulating everything on Yavin 4, you know, like we see in New Hope. So somehow everything's going to connect within these 3 years, possibly, where they're going to. Andor obviously gets connected to Yavin 4 and all of that, Jake. So
I love this too because,
yeah,
or just because, you know, for BBY is when Star Wars Rebels starts taking place.
Yeah.
And in that show, they make a pretty strong point of there is not much of an organized rebellion. It's mostly rebel cells. You know, and so you're right. It's just it's getting there, but it's not quite cohesive yet. It's not the alliance. The Rebel Alliance is not around yet. And I love that they're able to take, you know, all we hear about in the movies. In the original movies are the Rebel Alliance, and right now there's just different rebels. You know, they're not really in alliance yet. And the show Rebels touched on that a pretty good amount. Although I think that by the time Phoenix Squad joined, you know, the crew of the Ghost, I think the alliance had already been formed. So I'm sure this is going to dive a little bit more into that.
All these factions get together and form the alliance to take on the Empire.
The infighting was really, really an awesome touch. I really loved this story, and it was my least favorite of the stories in the episodes. I'm not saying that because it was bad, just because I want to highlight how good the other stories were. I'm glad this one was only 2 episodes, but the infighting was a great touch because, you know, these people are radicals. In a good way, they're fighting against the Empire, but they're so intense, they're so hot-headed, and they're so leaderless that they turn on each other because they seem like they're pretty intense people. And I think that will happen. I think it's unrealistic that all rebels are altruistic people who all get along,
all
and
united
all
in the same idea.
These are people who are full of rage, and they're full of anger. And yeah, technically they're the good guys, but I'm not sure they're really good people. Again, and that's in stark contrast with the mechanic we met, who was working for the Empire and was a good person, it seemed like. So we've got bad people on the rebel side, good people on the Empire side, and none of them really doing any actions to contradict that. Really nuanced character work with just these almost maybe throwaway characters.
I believe, you know, some like I know what they were doing. Like Andor had to be kind of kept away so they could kind of what's happening on the other planet, the Wheatfield planet, so that could all play out. I understood what they were doing, but I felt a little bit of that filler, you know, with these few episodes where it's like, man, come on, like why is Andor stuck here? This is boring. You know, I don't care about these random rebels who are fighting. But the visuals were cool, and they're trying to turn the TIE Avenger to shoot at them, so that was kind of interesting. I like the mechanics of that. That was very fun. But also you have that side, the other sides. There's a lot of stories. It does feel very grand in scope. You've got all of these different characters from season 1, obviously. You know, and it's all hopefully going to tie together at some point. You know, by the end of the episode, it does a little bit. But we have this Wheatfield section where these people are technically illegals. You know, these rebels that are, I think they're laying low on this planet. Am I correct in saying that? Right?
Yeah, because it seemed like since they were part of that little rebellion, that little uprising on Ferrix at the end of season 1, it seems like that if the Empire finds out who they are, they'll be arrested.
Yeah, for sure. And so you got Bix, and I can't remember the other character's name. You got
what's that guy's name, man? They even said it like
Brazo,
5 times.
Brazo. Right? Brazo.
Brazo.
And so, and you have this other character, the guy who's in love with one of the local girls. So that was interesting. But they're kind of playing into that. The Imperials could come around at any moment. They could do a evaluation of the area, and they've already been finding some rebels, some groups hiding as well. So it's kind of like terrifying, and it's kind of like that. If you've watched, I believe it's Inglorious Bastards, right? Where the Nazis could just show up at any moment and find the hidden Jews. That's what it kind of felt like a little bit, that scene at the beginning of that movie. And so it's suspenseful and it's interesting. Wade, how'd you feel about this segment where the Imperials, the impies they call them, are on the prowl?
I don't know. Honestly, I thought it was a little boring. Kind of light on action. The whole this whole episode kind of felt like
light on action.
Yeah, light on action, Jacob. I like action in Star Wars. I get that Andor is more of a kind of they have more time to delve into the dialogue between characters, and you checked in with every character that we were supposed to like from the previous season. But
yeah,
I don't know. Wasn't really into it as much as I would have wanted to be. So
I think they're trying to build a little bit. It did feel slow for me as well, a little bit. They're trying to build so you kind of are connecting with these characters, which I understand. But also they're trying to build that fear. I think they could have elevated that fear a little bit more. Maybe they kill a few characters. I don't know. But, it was interesting. Jake, how'd you feel about this whole stuff?
I think the fear actually doesn't come from like seeing a character die, but the fact that they know they're sweeping these segments of the planet one by one, and they keep on hearing like, oh yeah, they found some runners here, they grabbed some runners there, and I think the fear is they don't know what happens to them, because in season 1, Bix wasn't killed, she was tortured beyond belief, and she's obviously still processing that.
They do play into that a little bit with her dreams, yeah.
And then her dreams, she dreams that the guy who tortured her in season 1 is coming for her in the night. And they show in that dream sequence, the guy looks at himself in the mirror. And then when her attempted rapist shows up, the Imperial officer head in charge of the audit, he stops and he looks at himself in the mirror. It's her worst dreams realized. That was one of the scariest things I've ever seen. It was that moment when he stopped and he looked at himself in the mirror. All of a sudden, it hit me. This is her worst fear ever come to life. This is the thing she has nightmares about every night. It's scarier than an audit or being relocated or imprisoned. I mean, this is it was masterful.
Just be careful, because we can't say the grape word on YouTube, Jake. We might get demonetized.
Oh, really?
So just be careful. Yeah, but that it is a serious tone show for sure. In a world of mass genocide and slavery, obviously this stuff could happen. I know there's some controversy online currently about it. Like, why is this in Star Wars? I don't really know how I feel about it. George Lucas would always kind of cut away from some implied stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like when Anakin turns on the lightsaber, and the little younglings are in the room. You obviously know he killed all of them, or like say Anakin's mom is captured by the Tusken Raiders. There's some implied stuff there, obviously, as well. So I don't really know how I feel about it, but, very dark, obviously, and they're kind of playing up that the Imperials are, nasty. I don't know. There's some theories online, like Darth Vader wouldn't allow this. Like, obviously, I don't know how I feel about it. Like, because Darth Vader's, like, evil, but he's not, like, sick. I don't know. I don't really know how I feel about it. I don't know, Jake. How do you feel about it?
Yeah, well, it was incredibly dark, and it was supposed to be incredibly unsettling and make you be really, really uncomfortable, because it's an uncomfortable thing to confront. But yeah, that's not the kind of evil that Darth Vader's into. Dark wizardry evil, I want power, and that's just a very scary human evil.
Yes.
I have a problem with it. I know it's trying to be TV, 14, like MA, basically, like, darker Star Wars, but I don't think it belongs in Star Wars, just my personal opinion.
Yeah, so we'll see what happens with that. Obviously, it's playing into the fear of everything, but let's get into the Mon Mothma side. Oh, wait, no. Sorry, let's get into the Deidre side.
That's a crazy
This is my favorite part. This is my favorite part of the entire
This was mine,
three
too.
episodes.
I thought it was hilarious.
You get Deidre and Cyril Karn, of course. You know, and it seems like they're dating. So
They
I was
are.
like,
It
what
looks
in
like
the
they live
world?
together. They live together now. It's ridiculous. It was so funny. It was such a joke in season 1. They're bickering and maybe attraction, and they couldn't stand each other. And he's like,
Yeah.
I'm important. I need to help. And she's like, please stay away from me. And yet now here they are together. Obviously, he saved her life in season 1, and
Oh, yeah,
she
yeah.
obviously probably really really kind of, I guess, fell in love with him. That's crazy. When they showed
Yeah.
that they had an apartment together, I actually couldn't stop laughing. It's just such a funny character beat. And it serves both of their characters really well. And they slice into it with the relationship with his mom, which we know is messed up. His mom is awful.
Yep. Yeah.
Well, and here's the funny thing I kept thinking was like, he's basically marrying like a version of his mother who's going to like control him, you know? Because did you hear the conversation between her and
Yes.
the mother where
Yeah.
she's like, I will make sure that he visits you twice a week. And, you know, and I'm just like, oh no, poor Cyril. Except, you know, I guess he's making out all right. So.
Yeah, I'm wondering.
The mom
you know,
is awful. The way she talks about him, you know, is like, oh, you know, he can't handle it. He's not strong. He's weak. You know, like, oh my gosh, like, geez, Louise. No wonder he is the way he is. He's always
Yeah.
trying to prove himself. He's desperate to find Andor as well, which they kind of mentioned that. What is Andor's code name? I can't remember. Axis or something.
Well, their Axis is Stellan Skarsgård's character, Luthen.
That's right. Sorry. Yeah, Luthen.
but-
That's what I meant. Yeah.
But he's been out of it for a year now. It seems like he's embraced his corporate life, and embraced his home life. I don't think it's much on his mind anymore. Deidre's obviously incredibly
more
into
so.
Axis.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you know, I'm not even sure Cyril's an evil person. I'm not even sure he's a bad person. He's a lot like Inspector Javert from Les Miserables, where he's so obsessed with the rule of law that he'll do the wrong thing just because technically it seems right. I'm not sure if he knows that Deidre is truly an evil person. But she's obviously going to be important in this story and get mixed up with Cassian and Luthen's story, and that's going to pull him right back into it. And I'm interested to see where that takes his character. For a scene of them sitting in the apartment talking with his mom, the setup for later in the season is ridiculous.
Nice. Yeah. I love it. That's the best part of the show. I'm excited to see what she is going to be doing. Like, obviously, we also got the Director Krennic scene, which was really awesome. Director Krennic's trying to give her this like crappy job, basically, with the spiders or whatever. Like, this planet is really important to us, you know, go there and extract all this stuff. But she really wants like the ground level, killing the rebels more so. You know what I mean? Instead of like the planet control, which we see a lot in Rebels with Ezra's planet, you know, where they try to like control a planet for its resources. Mm-hmm. She's more so about catching the rebels, which is pretty bold move, obviously. So
yeah, she wants to hunt spies, not control a planet. But I'm sure when the show picks up again, we're going to see her in control of this planet, since it's likely going to be
because it's a year later, she's going to have to do it, maybe, you think?
And I think that's how Krennic's going to come back into the story, is she's going to be reporting directly to him. It's a great way to work him in, knowing that he's working on his secret project. And I love the line where he says, Grand Moff Tarkin can't know, because he hates Tarkin so much. I mean, that's obvious. He can't stand Tarkin. So I love that he's going to people that he selects instead of his superiors to oversee projects for the building of the Death Star. That's a great way to work him into the story very naturally.
You think we're going to get any cameos like that, like Tarkin or Darth Vader or Sidious, maybe?
I don't know. As of right now, it doesn't really seem like Krennic's a point of view character. It seems like he's tertiary to Deidre's story. So I think he might be the big appearance of the season. I'm certain we haven't seen the last of him, because it seems like her story with him is going to continue. But I don't think we're going to follow him very much on his own.
True. Yeah, it's more so Deidre and how she's driven to do it, and also the scene with Cyril Karn talking to an employee, and he's like, "I used to be just like you." Like, that was kind of hilarious.
That was
like,
so
"What?"
Good, dude.
He's just
Oh,
a
man.
character.
He was like born to do that job. So funny.
So funny. So yeah, this gets us into Mon Mothma. Obviously, we're kind of just breaking this down by the different
Yeah, it's
stories
a
that
good
are
way to
going
do it.
throughout.
Yeah.
So Mon Mothma, this is throughout all 3 episodes, I believe, and her daughter's wedding that was kind of foreshadowed in the first season. It's kind of this alliance of these two families, but it's kind of also playing into her like still living her old life, and she's not about it, almost like she wants to be more so into the rebellion, I'm assuming, or she's just not feeling this like this empire, like the rich and empire type lifestyle. I don't know. But also there's some sort of backstory with her friend from childhood who's kind of going back on his word type deal. Like, wasn't he helping the rebels?
Yeah,
Financially, right?
So the Tay Colma character they introduced in season 1, he was a banker, her oldest friend.
Yeah.
And he was going to help her move money because she was moving money on her own at the start of season 1, and it was getting noticed, and that's why she was being watched. So he had her, she had him, as a banker, take control of her accounts and set up this foundation. And it seemed like it was all very above board and that they were like-minded rebels.
The foundation,
Yeah. But now he's, and I mean, you can tell from the dialogue in the show, he's been away for a year. He's been spiraling. I think they say his wife left him.
Yeah.
And he owes money, and he feels like he should be compensated for his work.
For helping the rebels, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And he's like, we need to talk what I could get paid for what I'm doing, my risk.
Yeah.
And I don't think this guy who's spiraling understands just
the
who
ramifications.
is on the ramifications of what he's saying.
Yeah.
This was a pretty shocking story for me because he seemed very, very level-headed in the first season, but seeing that he's spiraled is pretty scary. But the effects of living a secret life like that, I think, can take a toll on people, and it's kind of scary Mon Mothma because she's doing the same thing. She's leading a bit of a double life, and she sees
her husband thinks it's like she's cheating on him.
Yeah,
but she's like, it's not even that. It's that she's like a total criminal, against the empire.
Yeah, really, really interesting stuff, and just every aspect of her life is falling apart. Her rebellion partner Luthen is up to something, and she can't know about it. Her husband thinks she's having an affair. Her daughter hates her and is embracing these traditions that she seems to despise. And her oldest friend is threatening to extort the Luthen, and we know that that's not going to go well for him. And dude, she is just crashing out. It is a ridiculously painful week for her.
And her husband's speech about how like pain will find you, but that's all the more reason we must reach for joy. It's like kind of like telling that like their mindset during the Empire, like the rich and the powerful have no clue like what's going on, but she's more zoned in on the people, which we'll see eventually, like in Rebels and all of that. That's what she's focused on. But this rich and powerful is like, reach for joy, and everything's fine and dandy, blah blah blah, And that's kind of like a breaking point for her, where she starts just dancing like crazy. I was like, what is going on? She's having a mental breakdown. Pretty wild.
Yeah, and that came right after Luthen pretty much said, we are going to kill Tay Colma. And she just couldn't take it anymore. She just let loose. It was it was pretty odd to see.
Did you catch the statue too as well? Like the traditions of the statue, like this is worth like billions and billions of credits, just like the lavish of being so rich is like bothering her, as well. I think that is kind of feeding into it as well. And she's also conflicted. It's just wild. I don't know. She's an interesting character.
I think that was we saw like the worst time of her life. Probably the worst consecutive couple of days ever, Losing her family, losing her friends, completely alone. It was a pretty interesting way to show it.
For sure. Wade, how'd you feel about Mon Mothma? Obviously, she's an OG character from the originals. Where do you think this is leading up to? Where she's in Rebels and also in Empire Strikes Back and all of those movies.
I do
Return of
wonder
the
if
Jedi.
she's gonna have to leave it all. You know, like, I think there's that thing in Rebels where she like denounces the Empire or something. There's like an episode of that, so I think that it's gonna have to lead up to that, obviously.
Do you think that's in the show? That would be crazy. Her
That'd be
speech,
interesting.
but in live action.
I
That
wouldn't
would be
mind them doing
so
that.
good, dude. Man, that's gonna be scary for her family and Perrin, obviously her husband and everything, because he has no clue. She can't even include him, is what it feels like, right?
You know, it's hard to even dislike her husband too much. Like you're saying, it's just like he's blind to everything. You know.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure I really liked him in season 1. I don't really think I like him now, but I don't think I hate him. I think he's just another one of these people that
He's just caught up in it.
Can't understand what's going on. You know. And unfortunately, his personality, I think he's going to laugh and balk at any, sense of doing the right thing because, again, he just can't even fathom what's happening out there.
So I was confused about the Luthen conflict with her. Like, what number? They kept talking about a number. I wasn't really sure what was going on there.
Tacoma demanded. He said, "I need to be compensated."
Who's Tacoma?
The banker, her old friend,
the guy with the white hair.
Yeah.
He was saying, I've risked so much for you, with your foundation, moving your money into the rebellion. My life is falling apart, and I'm taking all this risk. I think I need to be compensated for my actions. And she's like, "We'll talk next week."
Did you kind of catch what was implied though?
What's that?
At the end, with Luthen's like, I'll handle it, right? And then the driver shows up for the banker, and it's the girl from season 1 who works for Luthen. So is she gonna kill him? That's what I
100%.
think.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah, is that what's implied there?
I think it was implied in their conversation that when Luthen and Mon Mothma were hushed in the corner, she knew, because Luthen said, we can't. She said, "We're going to meet with him next week, and we're going to give him a number, and that'll be it." She thinks so that's the figure, the number you were talking about.
Yeah, the number.
She thinks we're just going to
pay him off,
and that's going to be that. And Luthen says, we can't let this stand, right? And she walks away, practically accepting it. So
see, I didn't get any of that. It was kind of unclear.
I realized I should have watched the first season before, because I was like, man, I'm forgetting stuff, and I'm having to do like a re-evaluation of the first season to understand all of this Mon Mothma stuff, because it was really deep. All of the stuff she's communicating to so many different people, on what is going on. It is kind of layered a little bit.
Yeah, it is very politicky, like,
which is good. That's like the prequels a little bit,
It puts the politics in the prequels to shame, honestly. Just the sheer nuance of it.
I like the politics in the prequels.
That's the politics. The politics in the prequels is more like the grand sweeping. You know what I mean? Like the huge announcement to the ginormous council for the Republic. And you have every single planet representative. This is more so the behind the scenes of the rebellions, so to speak. You know what I mean? Like the formulation and where's the money going, and Mon Mothma and Luthen. Luthen's kind of doing the secretive stuff. Mon Mothma's helping move the funds around with this banker, obviously. But eventually she's going to denounce the Empire, which is wild. So, crazy. What happens next? We see Andor escapes, right? He gets back to the TIE Avenger, getting back to the planet just in time to save Bix and the boy, but Brazo is killed by the stormtroopers, right? If I'm correct in saying that. So kind of a somber moment. But, I felt like I didn't really know the character, to be so upset about it. I didn't feel
super sad about him, because I was just like,
yeah. So, that's the one thing I kind of struggle a little bit is like, I don't care so much about these characters. Like even Cassian, like I didn't really care about him that much in Rogue One.
I was about to say, I got bad news for you about Cassian.
Yeah, I know. Like it's like I already know his end story as well. But we have to kind of see how he gets to this point where he's connected to Yavin and Leia and the actual Rebel Alliance. So and K2SO, that's gonna happen. So Am I missing anything else that happened, Jake?
Those were the big beats, pretty much. Yeah.
I thought it was interesting. We got some like Star Wars lo-fi beats during Cyril and Deidre's dinner, and then we got like techno dance music at the wedding that was like Star Warsified.
That was pretty cool, and it was hype with the end where he saves them in the TIE Avenger. I was like, this is kind of hype, I was like,
something that was cool, and that I think is a little bit of setup, is we find out the jungle planet that Cassian was stuck with these idiot rebels on was Yavin 4.
Yes, it was Yavin 4. It had the towers. Yes.
Yeah, it had the temple that will become the rebel base. So that planet's going to be
very key
revisited. Who knows if those characters are ever revisited? I don't think they will. I think it was just a thematic way of showing, look at how disorganized these rebels are now. And then at the end, when they revealed it's Yavin 4, they're like, but look at what will happen. Yeah, actually, there is Yavin 4 right there.
That's the cool thing about this show. They're actually putting in the effort to introduce, instead of it just being like a throwaway thing, it's like actually doing the effort to build up to New Hope and Rogue One. You know what I'm saying? Like, they're actually doing the building blocks to get you there, instead of it being like just a throwaway, end credit scene type. I don't know. So they're actually doing the effort, hopefully.
Yeah, like I said, my biggest problems were I wish it was a little more action-packed, just me personally. It's a Star Wars show. I think it should have that.
But you got to think it's the first 3 episodes.
Yeah, and it's like I hate to say it this way, but I don't like necessarily turn on Star Wars to dive deep into the dialogue and figure all that out. Like, I wanted to be a little surface level, just, But anyway, like I was so confused throughout that. I'm glad you guys explained that. I understand it a little better, but
yeah, it is very deep, and so you gotta be honed in. And I've watched a few breakdowns already, just like to be like, man, I need to know what is up, to be able to break it down on the pod for sure. But I think it can only get better, Wade. I think
that's
just
hold
out.
Hoping each episode gets more and more crazy. So
because like there's some stuff that we haven't even there's tons more episodes. Like there's stuff we have not seen. This seems like everything that was in the trailers. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I felt like that was everything I kind of expected from the show. So
except for K2SO.
So I'm pretty curious where it's going to go to.
Yeah. Just hold.
I gotta say, it's funny you say there's a ton more episodes, because it almost feels like there's only 3 left. Because I almost watched last night's like it was one long episode. And I've got a feeling the others are going to be the same way. It's a pretty interesting way to do it.
It's going to feel like 4 movies or 3 movies.
Yeah, 4 movies. It did feel like, because it was 50 minutes each, so that's basically 2.5 hours.
Yeah.
Which this is where I get into this. Like, why isn't every show like this, like format wise? You know what I mean? Like, Tony Gilroy needs to be in charge, maybe, with the structure and making sure every Star Wars project feels the same. Because it feels like so inconsistent. We talked about this earlier. Like, there's just no consistency visually, to Star Wars, it feels like, anymore. The movies do feel very consistent, obviously, because there was a vision throughout, which not the sequels, maybe not so much, but story-wise, but, visually, I wish everything kind of looked consistent. I don't know if that makes sense, but yeah, the quality is pretty good in this show. We just got to see where it's going to be a slow burn, Wade, maybe for you.
Yeah, like so far not the most fun yet.
Yeah, it wasn't fun for me either, but
yeah, I'm not sure I'd describe it as fun at all.
Yeah, no, it was more just like grindage to know these characters.
When I watch something that's serious, she'll say, it made me feel yucky. I didn't like it. And it's kind of like that. There's nothing really, honestly, there's not even anything hopeful about it yet. Obviously we're building to A New Hope, but it was pretty bleak throughout. Nothing good really happened to these characters, whether they were stranded with idiots trying to kill each other, their family hated them, or they had dinner with their in-laws. Everything sucked. But I really I really do like a lot of the nuance. And as a fan of prestige TV and Star Wars, seeing them meet is really cool. This is unlike anything else in Star Wars. And it's interesting you say you want other Star Wars to be like this, because I think I agree with Wade that there's a lot here that shouldn't be in what I would call normal Star Wars.
Yeah.
This is almost like a unique
I'm saying
experiment.
visually.
I know what you mean there. And so just to merge like a couple thoughts, like there's so much good that other projects could take from this: the sets, the production design, the cinematography, and there's stuff that other projects shouldn't touch: the mature themes, the bleakness of it all. There's a lot to learn, and there's a lot to leave at the door, because this is a pretty hefty project, and it's not going to be for everybody.
Yeah.
But I'm really happy with the quality of it, and even though it's not easily accessible, I would say, or even particularly enjoyable for what the characters are going through, the experience is a pretty insane ride.
Which maybe they're gonna get some wins, like when Han Solo blows up the when he shoots the TIE fighters and he screams, you know, super. There's some joy there. Maybe there's gonna be some sort of victories in this last little bit where we will feel the joy a little bit.
I don't
Star
know.
Wars.
I think it's going to be a pretty bleak season.
It's kind of like Rogue One. Like
it's kind of like Rogue One. I don't think it's
Yeah.
going anywhere too hopeful. Well, actually, it is literally leading to hope, but I don't think it's going to be anything good for the characters that we know.
If just
that we've seen
Lucasfilm could
here.
get their ducks in a row, you get the quality of Andor, like the quality-wise. You get the action of Filoni and Jon Favreau, and you get the joy of the originals, you know, and even the politics of the sequels in Andor as well, you know. You have that, all of that. So if somebody could capture that, I don't know who's the person to do that, but it's possible.
Robert
You know,
Rodriguez.
And we will end on that note.
yes. But guys, are we good? Are we good? How we feel?
Yeah, I'm sure we'll be talking about it again.
Yeah, it's good to get all that stuff out there because there was so much announcements from Star Wars Celebration. But guys, thank you so much for following along. This was super fun. Make sure to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Make sure to follow us on Spotify if you prefer just the audio version of this. And also, you can email us at webinarseminarpodcast@gmail.com. Follow us on Instagram. And yeah, we love you guys. Peace. Go watch some Star Wars.